Well, I'll tell you what, we are about a day and a half removed from that Detroit Lions loss to San Francisco, and the sadness emanating from Detroit, I can still feel it here. I live about probably an hour away as a crow flies from the city of Detroit. And boy, people are just upset, sad, angry. And welcome to another edition of What Do You Know About Sports? And Gary Jeffries and Lance Roberts and I are doing this show every week. And we're just talking about what's happening in the sports world. And we're going to start with this Detroit Lions loss, which was really disappointing to a lot of people close to where I live here. They lost to San Francisco. Gary, what did you think? Losing that 17-point lead in the second half was heartbreaking.
Tale of two games, really. The first half and the second half. The Lions came out so strong, and offensively they could do nothing wrong. San Francisco had really no answer, and to jump into that 17-point lead, it certainly looked pretty good. But recognizing that that team on the other side got a lot of weapons, and anyhow, it as it unfolded, that San Fran came out. I'm sure that they felt they had to score on their first drive. They went down, and Detroit held them to a field goal. And so Detroit got the ball back and marched straight down the field again. And they had the option. They certainly could have kicked a field goal and gone back up 17. That would have put it right where it started, the second half. But they'd taken 5 or 6 minutes off the clock. And at that point, you're playing the game, I think, and you're playing the score, the situation, and so on. But Coach Campbell is getting roasted. There's no question. But no one should have been surprised. This is him, and this is what he's done all season. So this wasn't any different. He went for it. If the kid catches the ball, and they go down and score and they win the football game, he's lauded as a hero. And that's coaching. It's a decision that he made, and it's the same decision he's made all season. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. And then in the next 5 or 6 minutes, the momentum totally changed. San Fran throws up, the long ball, and it bounces off the kid's head. And next thing you know, they got the ball on the 2-yard line and they score. And then the next time they get the ball, Detroit gets the ball, they fumble on the first play, and they go down and score again. So now it's a tie football game. And there's another opportunity to tie the game late. They can kick a field goal, at least attempt a field goal, not necessarily make it. Right. It's a 44, 47-yarder, whatever it is. Go for it again, don't get it. And so it very disappointing. I certainly understand if you're a Lions fan. But I feel badly for Campbell. But he's a big boy. He's a big boy. He'll handle it. And perhaps going forward, there's some learning that can be had there, by everyone. But yeah. They're a good football team, and I think that although that division will be tough next year, I think that, they're certainly going to be good for a while yet.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, he didn't run and hide for making those fourth down gamble decisions, which didn't turn out well. I mean, he owned up to them and he defended them after the game. So good for him. But yeah, I get that he's sort of done it all year, but man, I'm just watching thinking, this is the NFC Championship. You are less than 30 minutes away from getting to the Super Bowl here. Be smart, retain that or regain that 3-possession lead. And he didn't do it. And yeah, he's feeling the heat a little bit now, but I just hope that team comes back. I'd hate to see this be a one and done sort of thing where we don't see the Lions in this big a game for another 30 years.
They're going to be in a tough division the way they do their scheduling with the NFL now, and they try to get parity. They're going to have a they're going to be in a tough division playing, coming back to get there again. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do next season. But I mean, it all, every time something like this happens in a hockey game or a football game or a basketball game, they always do the blame game. They got to find someone who's at fault, who's done something wrong. And in some situations like that, I mean, if they made some catches there with those decisions he made, we wouldn't be talking about them like in fact, in regards to, the decisions would be great decisions. That's the whole thing comes down to. If they catch the ball, it's a different world, and that's sports. So it's hard for Detroit to lose that game. I mean, you got to give 49ers credit. They came back and did the job.
Yeah. I love the one description I saw of Dan Campbell afterwards. That somebody said, Dan Campbell plays blackjack and he gets a 20 and he still says, hit me.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So he can't, I mean, you got to give him, it's like Gary says, he did it all season.
Yeah.
That was their forte. That's what they built their team on, to get to where they were. So I think he had faith in his team and confidence that they would be able to make those plays again. So
yeah, I just hope he just wasn't playing, and I'm sure he wasn't, but I hope he wasn't playing to suit the image that he had created in that second half, because it just seemed like it was just a couple of decisions that.
Well, he seems pretty sincere, I think. What about you, Gary? You ever been in those situations where you made those kind of decisions and then kind of thought to yourself, like, what the hell did I do?
You know what? Since I retired 11 years ago, sitting here in my comfy chair in my living room, I have not made an incorrect coaching decision. I've been absolutely perfect. Prior to that, not so much so. So absolutely, if they work out, it was a great decision. And if they don't, maybe not so much. But you just try to make more good ones than bad ones.
Yeah. Well, just on another topic, Kansas City Chiefs also won on Sunday. They beat Baltimore in Baltimore. Same old Chiefs, just win big games when they have to. But I don't know about you guys. I thought Baltimore really became a little unraveled there throughout that whole game, with just a lot of undisciplined decisions and things like that sort of showed they were there for the first time. And in Kansas City, it looked like a team who'd been there many times.
Well, I think Lamar had a terrible football game. I think that I don't know what happened to him, but he just didn't have anything going at all in that football game. They took some stupid penalties, I thought, that really kind of hurt them. I think that was the team was just not, prepared to play with what they had to do in that football game to win. And I just found that because I watched that one right through, and I thought it was a pretty good football game, other than all the kind of some of the plays that Baltimore. I thought Baltimore would be going to the Super Bowl. I had them, in my mind, to go to the Super Bowl, but Lamar Jackson just didn't have one of his better games.
No, and Mahomes once again, he was terrific, and gets lots of the credit. He and Kelsey, I think they were 11 for 11, 11 targets and 11 catches for Kelsey. And so, offensively, they did what they had to do. He managed the football game in the second half. The guy who doesn't get enough credit, in my view, is a defensive coordinator. I think I alluded to him last week. Spagnuolo does a great job with that defense. And a big part of the reason that Lamar maybe didn't have the game that we expected is they completely took the run away. A team that, has run the football, well all year. I think they held their two running backs to about 25 yards. The leading rusher was Jackson. So great job by that defense. If you're a finger pointer, you have a field day with this one. You've already mentioned, some of the foolish penalties that really hurt them. The Flowers kid, just a young kid, but the taunting, unacceptable. And then he fumbles the football going into the end zone. It was a series there that was a disaster. So I guess we shouldn't be too surprised though. Mahomes once again, and the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, and that they've had an awesome run, and the kid's legacy continues to grow.
Yeah, the karma with the Flowers taunting Snead, and then 3 minutes later, Snead knocking the ball out of Flowers' hands a foot from the goal line. That spoke volumes, I thought. But Gary, I'm curious, as a coach, when you've got a team that's obviously playing a little undisciplined like that in a big game, and maybe kids who aren't quite as experienced as you want them to be are taking dumb penalties, how do you negate that? What do you say to them?
Well, it's tough, and I heard one of the announcers. I think they were right. Baltimore was they were too hyped up, with the stuff that was going on pregame, and they were just wound up so tight. And this was such a big deal in Baltimore, and their first opportunity to go to the big dance, and the kids were too high, and once you get to that point and you get into the football game, it's pretty tough to reel them back. It has to be a mindset all week long, and certainly pregame and your pregame talk, and you want to be passionate, you want to be wound up, but it has to be under control. And I think they maybe were just too much so, too fired up, and as a result, it hurt them.
What's Harbaugh? He's pretty intense as a coach, isn't he, Gary? Harbaugh.
I would think. I think his brother maybe more so, that just won with Michigan and going to San Diego. But I think that he gets wound up, and that's good. You want that. You just hope that what transpired in this game doesn't happen. That's all.
I want to move on to some hockey news. And wow, the Edmonton Oilers are suddenly the best team in the history of the National Hockey League. They have won 16 games in a row. They've won 24 out of 27. And that team has completely turned it around here in the last little while. And Lance, I mean, you're the Edmonton guy, grew up there. I'm sure that you have some real nice insight into what's going on with this Oilers hockey team that's suddenly setting the world on fire.
Well, it's interesting that we had that session of talking about the coaching changes going on in the league and all that, and how do they pay off? Do they make any changes at work? But obviously something's clicked in with the change they've made to, the coach of Knobloch, and they've got Paul Coffey there. And it seems to have opened up things for them. And the talent, they've always had the talent. There was definitely that. They had, they were always, like every team seems to have a thing with the goaltender, but Skinner's playing great, playing absolutely fantastic. McDavid now is, he's woke up. He's playing the way he can play, or he was playing that way before. It's just happening. And, as in hockey, sometimes, you can be doing all the right things and losing, but now they're doing all the right things and winning. And I think that, what they have now, they have, Corey Perry, so I got the name right this time. With him in the lineup, it's going to make this team even stronger. I think they're going to have, with Perry and Hyman there, they're going to have a heck of a third line or second line, whatever, for checking line and the penalty kill and all those things. So they're going to get, they're going to be even better. I think they're going to make a good run to it in the end of the day with what they have there. But I think the coaching change must have made a big difference to them. Something was going on there. Something must have been happening, in the dressing room maybe, or how he was, what happens when you get a new coach, they start playing different guys in different situations. And all of a sudden, the ones that are getting confidence and they might change to go, for their go-to guys might be a little bit different. So those changes can make a big difference. So I think that's what's happening for them right now. They're only one win away from the record. They got to go to Vegas, so to get through Vegas for the next game. So we'll see what happens.
Since Coach Knobloch, since he's arrived, they've gone 26-6. I don't think Woodcroft was a bad coach.
No.
Their record under him was pretty darn good over a few years he was there. What I think, and it's just my opinion, I think he's got them to buy in to a 200-foot game.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you can get your superstars, if you can get those two kids, McDavid and Draisaitl, to buy in, then they're all going to buy in. And I think that's exactly what's happened. And they've recognized that by playing tough in their own end, that can start your offense. That can start your fast break offense, your breakout, get your 3-on-2s and your 2-on-1s. And so by playing in your end, you can still get great opportunities at the other end. They've bought into that, and I think that's what this kid has done. I think Knobloch had, I think he had McDavid in Erie when he was in junior. A little bit interesting story with him. Back in around 2000, I think it was 99 or 2000, the Canadian University Canada Cup Championship for university hockey was played at the Auditorium in Kitchener, and Laurier was hosting it, and so we all worked down at the Aud, and my role was I was in charge of the penalty box door, and I sat in the penalty box for most of the tournament, and got to meet some of the kids, and one of the kids I met was Knobloch. He was a big left winger for the University of Alberta, and great kid. I really liked him, and I remembered him, and so kind of watched his career, and so to see him get this opportunity is pretty cool, and he's obviously done a heck of a job. So good for them.
I think the coaching changes. Like what happens with that is it just changes who they play and who they don't play. You look at Rick Tocchet now in Vancouver, how good they're doing. It's no slight to the coach that was there at the time. It just makes, it's like you freshen it up for a team, and all of a sudden different guys are playing, different guys feel comfortable, and you're right, they're buying into that 200, playing at both ends of the ice.
Yeah.
You probably learned a few new words sitting in that penalty box, did you, Gary?
Unfortunately, no.
You already knew them.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, I guess Knobloch has just been a real nice calming influence there. But you're right, Gary, about the 200-foot game that the forwards now seem to be playing. Here's an amazing stat. In the last 14 games, the Oilers have not given up more than 2 goals in a game. And wow, I mean, that just speaks volumes about obviously A, the goaltending, and B, the defense, but also, how your forwards are getting back and helping out. You're not giving up 2 goals in a game, or not giving up more than 2 goals in a game for 14 straight. That's pretty unbelievable.
Well, Darnell Nurse, who was struggling big time with before this streak and before this coaching change, he's been like playing his best hockey he's played since he's been in the National Hockey League. He's really thrived on this, whatever they're doing for him as coaching, and what they're saying to him. His confidence is high. He's playing his position. He's playing where he should be. Before he was coughing up pucks. He's playing some good hockey right now, and that's making a big difference for them.
Yeah.
Well, and don't you think, Lance, too, that the D players, they can be more effective when they know they've got the other kids coming back.
Oh yeah, I mean, when they have the help, that's for sure. I mean, like you watched the Leafs the other day, they had that 5-on-4 and ended up with a 2-on-0 break on their goaltender. I mean, you got to have people that are coming back and helping out at all times. It doesn't matter what time of the game, what's happening in the hockey game.
Yeah, the Bouchard kid, who's really been a big offensive plus for them, and maybe a bit of a liability on the back end prior to this, has also improved. Cody Ceci, who couldn't play with the Leafs, that has, he's done a good job there. So when you play as a unit, you're just going to be better, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Bouchard has a heck of a shot. I think they got him shooting more, and he's got one heck of a shot, Bouchard, man. I'll tell you, that's one of the big aspects for his game is shooting. I think they got him doing more of that.
Yeah. One guy I have to say I feel a little bit bad for, because I always feel bad for somebody, right? Jack Campbell, who by all accounts is a terrific guy, and was just sort of torn apart there in Edmonton, and he's now in Bakersfield and playing great in the American Hockey League. But since he departed, that's when this thing has really turned around for the Oilers. And I don't think any of that was on Jack Campbell, but I feel bad for the guy. It's too bad. He's, long played for the Leafs and has had a great career, and probably isn't feeling real good about himself right now. But that's hockey. That's pro hockey.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the Oilers now they're in a real long break here, where they don't even play for another week. A week from tonight, their next game in Las Vegas. And they'll go for their 17th straight win, which would tie an NHL record set 31 years ago by the Penguins. So that'll be an interesting game to watch.
After this layoff, what do you guys think? Do they come back and set the record and beat Vegas in Vegas or not?
I think they will. I think they're going to win. They're going to be refreshed. They're going to be rested up. Yeah. I mean, Vegas is playing. They're not playing like they're not the Stanley Cup champs of last year, but it'll be tough because they're going to go. They're on the road for about 3 games, I think, with Vegas and the Ducks and the Kings. So we'll see how they do. It'll be interesting how they do in those 3 games coming back.
Yeah,
because I think they'll do it. I think they're going to break that record.
Yeah, I hate to be the Debbie Downer here. I'm going to pick Vegas in that game, only because the last thing you really want when you're on a real hot streak is a long break, which the Oilers are on right now. And I mean, Vegas as defending Cup champs, they're a pretty good hockey team. Yeah. And they're not going to want Edmonton to come into their building and tie an NHL record like that. So I have a feeling I'd like Vegas's chances on that one.
I hope we get that one on TV. That's one I might stay up for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, still with hockey, we are now a month into the Professional Women's Hockey League season, the PWHL. And I just wanted to get a take from you guys on what you think, as this new league is now a month old. Every team has played anywhere from 6 to 8 games. There are 6 teams in the league, 3 in the States, 3 in Canada. And by all accounts, things are going pretty well. The crowds are good. The hockey is good. It's fairly competitive. The Toronto team is really the only team that seems to be struggling a little bit as far as, goals for and against compared to the rest of the league. But what do you guys think of what you've seen so far?
Well, I've watched. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Lance.
Well, I watched a few games there, and it seems like there's the spirits there. They've had some crowds, some good crowds, and some centers. Minnesota is first overall. Montreal is second, and I think I saw a game that was in Boston. They had a pretty good crowd in Boston. So there's been some good positive stuff happening for them. I think the games have been really. I've seen them a little more physical than what I think that they have for a standard for women's hockey and girls hockey in the at the lower levels, which is okay. I think that's good to see. I think they have a bit. I've been watching the refereeing with it, and I can see where the actual body contact is only called really if you step up and actually body check someone, like step into them. But when there's collisions and there's battles or whatever, they're letting that basically letting that play go on, which is, I think, is helping a lot with the intensity of the game being able to be raised a little higher, because of the fact that I think that I've seen some good overall feel for the game by the officials that are working it for what they're doing out there, and I think it's been helping the game a lot. So I think they got a shot, because it's so competitive still, with the 2 top teams, Minnesota and Montreal, and there's not quite that big of a gap yet, except for Toronto, which would hurt them if the Toronto team can't pick it up. But it's going to be tight coming down the wire, and it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think Lance, when we first spoke about this a few weeks ago, when they were just starting up, your concern and certainly justified that was that it be competitive and not be one or two teams that kind of run away with it. And I've watched just about every game that's been on, and the games are competitive. They do go at it. It is physical. It's fun to watch. They just set a Canadian attendance record the other day in Montreal, a crowd of around 9,000. Minnesota, the first game down there, we wondered again back when we first spoke of this, going to their big arena might have been a mistake, and you want the atmosphere to be about the same everywhere. And shoot, they put 13,000 in there the first night in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I think people are now they're recognizing how good this is. People are attending. The thing I like most, it's back like the original six in the NHL, where I knew every player. I knew every player on every team, and I'm starting to learn. I know some of these kids now, and I look for them, and there's 6 or 7 of them on that Toronto team that I love to watch. So now in the NHL, there's 32 teams. Heck, I know who the Leafs are,
yeah.
And a few players on the other team. So I think that makes it more interesting as well. So I think they're off to a great start.
Do you think there's a risk of curiosity waning at this point now that it's it's been a month, and obviously lots of people were talking about it in the last 3-4 weeks, but now that we're a month into it, is there a risk of that?
I think that they were smart with how they set this thing up to start late like they have, because it created a lot of excitement for people to see it early, to see how it goes. They have some momentum for that, because they're going to be going into playoffs fairly quickly in this league. There's a short period of time, so they're going to gather that back up again heading into it for playoffs, and then that run. The people are going to, a lot more interest to watch that. So I think they're going to be okay, because the start's been really strong, and I think if they can carry that momentum into the playoffs, they're going to get a lot more momentum because of that, more exposure, and the hockey's. People are watching, they like it, so we'll see how that goes. But I think they got a good shot of having the way they've set it up, and the success is going to be based on that.
I agree, Lance. It's only a 24-game schedule, so I think that the kids they play hard. They play hard, and if you've been watching and you haven't been entertained, I'd be surprised. Yeah. I don't know how you can't enjoy what you're seeing, and as long as attendance stays up, I think that's testament that they are doing a good job, and they are going to be successful down the road.
Yeah. There was one game I watched that was about one of the things that was I think they might run into a little bit. There was an announcer they had at a game with Boston that was announcing the game, and the play-by-play was not very strong. And it was kind of like, you want to have, like, there's some really good announcers that are women. They had a guy doing it, and he wasn't that good as the woman that was doing it. I listened to, I think she was out of Toronto maybe, or Minnesota. I'm not sure which game it was, but she was fantastic. And the two played off each other really well. So part of the production has to be up to the level to bring that, the viewership up too. So there's so many components to make this whole thing successful. But if they have some strong people that are in the booth and bringing that excitement to the game too, that's going to help a lot, I think. And you would probably know that better than I would, Randy.
Well, I mean, a Mickey Mouse play-by-play announcer can just hurt the overall look of a broadcast, obviously, but also of a league. I mean, if you've got some guy or girl in there who sounds like Howdy Doody, or they don't know what they're talking about, it really makes it look bush league.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I heard that. I remember that game, Lance, and I thought the same thing. The guy was not very good.
No,
and I like the fact that the women are calling the games.
Yeah, I like it too.
they do a terrific job, and they should be.
Yeah,
they should be calling the games, and so no, the production it starts right there, and they've got to be careful with that.
The one girl they had at the World Junior, I can't remember the name of the lady that was on the panel for the World Junior with Jeff O'Neill, and I forget who else was on that panel, but she was really good. I think she was announcing one of the games, and I think she's doing the color on one of the games. She was fantastic. If it was her.
But it could have been. Was it Cheryl Pounder?
I think so. Yeah.
And she's doing a lot of the NHL stuff.
Yeah,
too,
yeah. She does some. No, she's not that. No, I think it was a blonde girl. I think is it Cheryl Pounder, the other one that does it with, with Ron and
Jeff O'Neill.
No, this is a different lady, but she's I think she does some announcing or play or color commentary, and she's really very good. She really knows her stuff. That girl.
Yeah, Cheryl Pounder is great.
Yeah,
former Laurier girl, Gary.
Sure is. Won the first provincial championship in our history back in I think 98, 99.
Yeah. One other thing before we leave the PWHL, do those teams, in your opinion, do they need nicknames?
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. I think that's coming. I think things started quickly. They wanted to get it going this year, and they wanted to do it right, and so they didn't. They're taking some time with that, but I think definitely, and that's going to help them. Marketing wise, and to sell that gear with the Toronto whoever. But I think the nickname's really important.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it just doesn't have the same ring when the Minnesotas are playing the New Yorks. I don't know. It needs something there.
Yeah, it'll come.
Yep. All right, let's move on here, guys. Boy, we're moving right along here today. Want to talk about the Raptors, and it seems like a century ago now that team won an NBA championship. It's been about 5 years, but they've really struggled this year. They were 500 last year. Now they are 14 games under 500, and as we record this show, they have one win in their last 10 games. Gary, I think you watched the Raptors quite a bit. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, they've certainly struggled, and they're kind of in a transition period. I think though that the honeymoon's over for management, for Bobby Webster and Masai. It was 2019 they won, and here we are in 24, and they're now looking like some kind of rebuild. Just got rid of their two top players, Anunoby and Siakam. Brought in a local kid, RJ Barrett, which is cool, and a point guard, a kid named Quickly that looks pretty good. But it's transition time, new coach. School's kind of still out on the new kid or the new guy they brought in, and Darko's his name. He had a little bit of a hissy fit the other day.
I saw that.
And justifiably. I think free throws in the fourth quarter were like 23-2 against them. But anyhow, it's going to take them a while, I think, now to turn around. Right now, they're playing without their big kid, the kid in the middle named Pirtle, and so they have no inside presence whatsoever, and so they're really struggling inside. Pirtle, I think, for a while this year was leading the NBA in field goal percentage, but so they got to get him back. I see they play tonight. And Barrett and Quickly are both not going to play. So it's hard times right now for the Raptors.
Yeah,
they're kind of in a rebuilding though, but I guess it can't keep rebuilding for too long. Like since 2019, is it that they won the?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, so they're kind of rebuilding But I think the thing something that's come through from the media that I've heard is that they're taking too long to rebuild. Like they should have done it quicker and faster with the ones that they moved earlier. With Siakam, they could have moved him earlier and got more for him. Maybe I'm not sure if that's kind of part of the problem, that they're all kind of not thinking that they're making the decisions quick enough to get this team rebuilt.
Yeah. Well, and Fred VanVleet last year, they could have traded him. And instead, they just waited until he became a free agent, and then they lost him and got no return. And that's just
that's part of it too. They're
poor management.
Really doing a good job of that.
Poor management decision on that. I'm not sure that firing Nick Nurse was, the best thing in the world. He's always struck me as a pretty good coach, and he had coached them to that title, 5 years ago, albeit with a real good team. But I don't know. It just seems like. They've just made some decisions from the managerial, and they've really turned out badly for them.
It's funny how it works in coaching and in management. In 2019, when they brought in Kawhi, and they go on and win the Larry O'Brien. They're hailed as as brilliant. It was the greatest move ever, but Kawhi leaves, and here we are 5 years later, and we're kind of struggling to put the pieces back together. So it's sometimes you just get fortunate, I think, and so we'll have to see what they do here going forward, but. It's going to be a bit of a lull, I think, for some time to come.
Do the basic markets that each team is in make a big difference? For example, like LA has bigger markets than what Toronto would have. Does that play part of into the trying to build this up again? Is it money? Is it? I don't know.
No, I don't think we. I think we have the money to pay these kids. It used to be, you'd always hear that, guys wouldn't want to come to Toronto, to come out of the U.S. and come up here and play and so on. But I don't think that's the case. I think our fan base has one of the best reputations in the league. It's a great place to come and play. I don't know what it is, but it's as I said, sometimes you get fortunate, and the draft is another very important area, so you have to draft well and develop kids, and hopefully you can make one or two changes. And the thing with basketball, if you get one or two kids, all of a sudden you can be very competitive.
Yeah.
It's not like hockey or football where you maybe need quite a few more, but you get one or two key ones, and you can be right back in it.
Well, you just look at what that team did when they got Vince Carter. I mean, a long time ago, but boy, the Raptors went from an expansion team basically to a contender overnight when Vince Carter arrived. So it can happen. It can happen.
Anunoby, that the one kid they shipped to the Knicks. The Knicks have been on a heater, as they say on Overdrive, since he arrived over there, so it can happen with one or two kids.
Yeah. Well, they've got Chicago tonight and Houston later in the week, so a couple of very winnable games for them. And we'll see where they go, but it doesn't look like a playoff berth is going to be happening anytime this year. Hey, guys, we are out of time. 40 minutes or so flies by for us here. We just want to mention a couple of things. You can always email us at whaddyaknowaboutsports@gmail.com. Any suggestions, comments, we'd love to hear them. And you can always just go online here and like the show or subscribe or leave a comment as well. All right, guys, have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care.
Take care.